Welcome to Winning with ACL Tears. Out of the 897 knee success stories that I've personally counted from coaching people on knee ability, over 100 of those stated ACL transformation. Now, I don't count quickie wins of someone who gets, they're feeling amazing or whatever. I count ones like the one, if you want to scroll to the end of this, I'm just breaking down today how a win like this could be possible. So you see this is a long-term, real change of condition. Before I go into it, let me just state I'm not a doctor, though I do take this stuff so seriously that we have a real ATG fam who graduates in April as a doctor, joining staff at no additional charge, so that if you have a question like, I've had ACL surgery or should I have ACL surgery, he can make sure you either go to the right doctor or legally handle that. Because out of the over 100 stated ACL success stories, yes, some were people who had surgery, some weren't. But I'm not a doctor, cannot diagnose or advise anything on that. All right, with the ACL, we have a really beautiful situation where the way the ACL works is the ACL attaches from the back of the thigh, attaching to then the front of the shin bone. So the way the ACL works, every ounce better you get in a Nordic, your ACL gets a little more protected. So this is the movement that we're breaking down in relation to ACL. Now, for a long time, the Nordic has been thought of as something that only freaks can do, not as like a measurable exercise like a squat or a deadlift. But knee ability 0 to dense to standards, and if you look in the progression in the description, you can see exactly how to progress, okay? I don't have any secrets. I make a living coaching people through it. So this is now something anyone can achieve. I'm gonna show you the measurable standard, okay? This comes from hockey legend Marty St. Louis, who's the greatest hockey speed longevity case ever. He was doing this at 35 and still leading the league in scoring. The glutes contract first, and then you pull with the hamstring. So this makes it so that your abs come off the bench, so all the pressure's on the hamstring. So a strict Nordic is, the standard is diamond on upper crest of the glutes, contract the glutes first, pull with the hamstring. Once you can do that flat, which you can see, we regress this by how high you elevate the hips, all in the longer video on this. Then you get to work on the Jonathan Edwards, what he worked on once a week for 20 years, finally winning gold in the triple jump at age 34. Now you lower down what you can, and then levitate back up, and then finally finish it down with one nice boom. So that's a rep of the standard. It took me 2.5 years to get there, okay? But don't be hard on yourself, because it also took Adam Archuleta, greatest football speed transformation, 2.5 years to get to flat, and he became a first-round draft pick as a kid who was laughed at even thinking he could get a college scholarship. NFL first-round pick, made tens of millions of dollars. Took him 2.5 years to do flat. Took me 2.5 years to do flat. People on average are getting there now in 36 weeks of 12 weeks 0 prepping, 12 weeks dense training the eccentric, then 12 weeks standards working on the full rep. So this is what we're getting into, is when we're looking at the ACL. Treatment versus transformation, okay? And this goes for any kind of knee situation. There's treatment versus transformation. For me, after third surgical alteration, 3 years later, my knee was worse than it was 1 year after, okay? So I was always thinking, oh, this is the right treatment. I was seeing endless chiropractors and massage therapists and this supplement and that, and I would always think I got 3 years of treatment. Now this thing is a bulletproof rocket. I never have any issues because I've transformed it. Now look at that. Imagine for the ACL if I was nowhere near being able to do that. So I've actually transformed the situation. But it's not just what meets the eye. You would think, oh, just a transformation of strength. There's four things that are occurring in ATG when we're transforming our knees. 4 things. The first one, yes, is the blood flow. I'll put my opening knee warm-up video, which in itself creates endless of these, which I don't count towards my 1,897 that I've tracked, is, oh my God, 1 session and this is the best my knee has felt in years, or whatever. Reverse out knee pain, gets incredible blood flow. When you can communicate to something, you can change it. right? It's hard to change something if you can't even communicate to it. So the first thing that's occurring for our knees is, yes, we are getting the best blood flow possible, and that can create these incredible short-term changes, and that does assist long-term transformation. But then we get into, okay, imagine if your ACL could only go to there. What about there, there, there? Okay, so Jonathan Edwards winning a gold medal at 34 in the triple jump, that's some insane resiliency, right? His country wouldn't even sponsor him at first because their orthopedic specialists, the experts, the scientists, the top of the science game, said, physically impossible for you to be a triple jumper. His world fucking record still stands. Okay, so you gotta get out of the whole like science thing, because the top in science, Jonathan Edwards wouldn't have existed. His gold medal wouldn't have existed. He'd be sitting at home, you know, sweeping gutters. Never would have broken the world record. That still stands because no one has the damn dedication to just do a freaking Nordic and work on it once a week. None of these triple jumpers with all their fancy stuff, all their better genetics, science, all this stuff, can't match what he did almost 30 years ago. So yes, there is a mathematical level of protection occurring in a bunch of different areas for your knee. I used to think it was just those two, the blood flow and the mathematical protection. Okay, and that does help. Think of your knee as a math equation, right? It's not like every NBA and NFL player walks out and tears their ACL in the game. At some point, so let's say their knee has a 57 of protection and something occurs that's a 58. Maybe that results in a little tendonitis. Okay, what about when it's a 57 of protection and then a 78 occurs? Now they have a partial tear. What about when an 89 occurs? But what if they just had a 90 of protection? Okay, that's how I jump off ladders and stuff, you know, multiple times a week for years now and never have a problem. The same knees would have been destroyed from that. So start thinking of it as a math equation for your knees, not just as absolutes. But there's two more factors. Factor number 3, internal adaptation is occurring, especially when we go to full knee bend. So the greatest jumping longevity cases ever, from Kadur Ziani to Stefan Holm to George Hackenschmidt, who was jumping till his death at age 89, these guys were the best full knee benders in their class. When you go to full knee bend, you cause active muscle adaptation and passive change of tendons and ligaments inside. This explains the modern athlete. How are these athletes supposedly performing so great and the muscles look good, but injuries, sky high levels? Like, injury rates have gone through the roof as we have gotten people to stop going to full bend. And the cultures where they still go to full bend, they haven't had those skyrocketing levels. The best full benders end up with the best tendons and ligaments. And we have new research as of a year ago showing that we can, as humans, we can even regrow cartilage. But this occurs like a salamander the farther away it is. So actually in our ankle, and probably one reason people see insane ankle mobility transformations. I have made thousands of ankle mobility transformations through knee ability, and then thousands of knee transformations, but that's because it's hardest to grow cartilage in the hip. So I'm saying we can here, but it's easier here and here. So that's why our transformation goes from the ground up, and possibly explains why a lot of people with cartilage issues have success. So you see so we thought it was, okay, blood flow. Then we thought it was mathematical protection, but now we find out there's more. There's internal knee adaptation going on in knee ability. Number 4, okay? With a lot of these exercises, we are actually causing lengthening, okay? It's not the easiest thing to cause lengthening to an area. So like, I was never supposed to regain full knee bend. I used to call this the KOT challenge, controlling all the way down and then stretching. I'm gonna go shoulders to the floor, and I haven't tried this in forever. You see that? Shoulders to the floor, boom. I used to call this the KOT challenge. I don't do it anymore because people get the wrong idea. I didn't get to that from doing it. I don't work on that. Do you see what I mean? So that's why I'm only putting it like this in a video. I used to post videos of that to get views. I can't do that anymore because people assume that's how I got to doing that. It's not how I got to doing that. When you've had a surgery, you now have a mass inside your knee that even if you do everything right, according to existing exercise science, you may still have problems because of that mass. You have to create additional, you may have to create additional length. So now I've defied what doctors said was possible for my knees, but I had to create additional length beyond what I had even pre-surgery to make room for the mass inside. That's how 3 years after surgery, my surgery knee still sucked and was getting worse because of the mass inside the knee. So I had to create additional length using exercises that have never even been tested yet, like the ATG split squat. We have 0 tests on it, and to me it's completely changed my life, and it's been critical now for the system that has by far the most knee success stories in history. So science, catch up, but don't worry, science, because I have a doctor starting in April, so he can help us catch up. I don't know how to do a study, because the way I look at it, people should be able to afford the truth, not have to go to college, or you know how much money it costs to conduct a study? So who's to say it's not a study? Who's to say my 1,897 people who did the exercises, videoed their form, sent it in, recorded their result, who's to say that's not, I'm a man of the people, so I never need a study. I never needed a study to come up with this system, okay? It's all common sense, but some people do desire studies, so study people can go get it. This guy's had to go through college. Not everyone has $200,000 to go to college, okay? But anyone, by confronting your knees on a gradient scale can get the best knee results on earth and completely transform.